Okay, this is Beth Bodenhammer, case study parental apathy for EDL 856. Okay, category 1, problem identification and analysis. What do we know? So what I know about this case so far is that Mrs. Rose is at a new school and she has recently become an assistant principal. She just finished up her master's degree in administration. And once she has gotten to the school, she realizes that there is a lack of parental involvement in the school. She approaches the current administrator about this issue, and he's very reluctant to put a lot of time and energy into forming parent groups. I guess there were parent groups in the past, and he said there was so much parent apathy that he did not feel like it was worth the time and effort to get the parents involved. He did agree upon Mrs. Rose's request to form a parent group and hold a meeting, but to not have it be an official PTO or PTA. There's currently no parent organization in place, so they do hold a meeting and only 8 parents are in attendance. Okay, what's the problem? Category 1, problem identification and analysis. What do we know? And what do we need to know? Why are there currently no parent groups formed? What has happened in the past? One thing that had me thinking was there one specific negative incident that caused a breakdown in communication or the relationship between administrator and the community? How does the staff feel about the parent community involvement? What about the school board? Input from the school board or the district or district guidelines? How do the parents feel about the climate of the school and their involvement? And what has been done in the past to help with parent apathy? And if that failed, why did it fail? Why, also, was the invitation to the meeting not advertised sooner and more effectively? I guess the information for the meeting was sent out on the previous Friday, and the meeting was coming up on Monday, which is probably not enough turnaround time for people to plan to attend a meeting. Category 1, still problem identification analysis, identifying the problem. Well, now that we've called a problem, or called a meeting, and there are 8 people in attendance, do you continue with that meeting with only 8 parents? I don't know the size of the school, so that could be a good parent sample, or it could be a really small group. But regardless, at some point you have to get started, and even starting with 8 would be worth it to me. There's obviously a problem with parent community involvement and poor communication between school and community. And there's no organizations or committees in place currently, and it sounds like the current administration does not share the same vision as Mrs. Rose. I'm also wondering, what is the overall school climate? Is it affected by lack of parent involvement, and how can we fix that? All right, resolving the issue. If I were Mrs. Rose, I would propose to continue with the meeting. Like I said, you have to start somewhere, and if there is a broken relationship between the administration, the staff, and the community, we need to start rebuilding it somewhere. Be proactive to have better communication with parents in the future. I would also suggest that Mrs. Rose maybe bring up the option of dividing administrative duties. If the current administrator does not feel like community relations is his strong suit, then maybe Mrs. Rose can take that role on and get that ball rolling and kind of help guide him into that role at a later date when he feels more comfortable. Holding regular parent meetings and school events to increase involvement. I also think that in tying in a parent meeting with an academic night or an art fair or some kind of other activity to entice parents to come to a meeting. Getting feedback from staff and parents, changing the mindset to have a better school climate. I think you can do that by some professional development and educating teachers and staff why it is important to have those positive community relationships. I also think forming a small parent committee who share the same positive vision. Oftentimes, if you find a couple of parents that are on board with your school climate and your collective goals and where you're wanting to go, they can kind of help lead a group in a positive direction. All right, plan of action. Having weekly newsletters, either paper and electronic, just in case people do not have access to computers. Division of administrative duties. I think setting up a staff parent group that meets regularly to plan school events and having a few of your teachers sit in on that group to help guide and have input. Setting up dates for meetings and events and putting them on the school calendar ahead of time so people know in advance and can plan for activities that are coming. And continuing to make building positive relationships and partnerships a priority. You can do that by making sure that you are having activities where you are inviting community members or family members, parents into the school to help volunteer and make those connections. Resolving the issue, what is best for kids? Better learning experiences. The more community involvement you have, you can enrich your resources and make more resources available, which will in turn help the academic environment for our students. Modeling positive relationships for our students and making those connections out into the community. Building trust, respect, and collaboration between staff and parents will also help to improve your school culture and provide a better environment for our students. It's statistically proven that academic growth increases with parent and community involvement. If you have the support of your parents and they are invested in their child's education, academic growth increases. Everybody's on board, there's buy-in and accountability on everybody's part. Okay, debriefing the problem. What was I thinking during this case study? I was wondering, how did the culture get to this point and why has no one intervened? Also, how could Mrs. Rose or me as a future building leader motivate the principal to change his mindset? I think you need to be cautious, to not step on toes, but also to bring that positive skill set to the table and help to have a growth mindset, to step outside of the box. And if he is dead set against encouraging that community involvement, maybe taking the reins yourself and helping him to kind of see why it's important. As building leaders, we have a great opportunity to be positive and influence those around us. Conflict is good. It's a normal, natural part of any job, community, family, relationship, and it can bring about growth. So it's a positive thing. I'm feeling excited about the endless possibilities that Ms. Rose and all of us as building leaders have to make a huge impact on students and communities and to help change school culture. I'm motivated to learn more about conflict resolution and how, as a future building administrator, I can inspire those around me and to adapt a growth mindset. I value the feelings and input from all stakeholders. I value the feelings of my administrator. Like I said, being cautious and careful to not step on toes and be able to professionally collaborate together, even if we don't have the same vision, for the greater good of a school. I value all students' academic and social growth, and I value positive relationships and collaborative partnerships. What are the unresolved issues? One of the things I'm still wondering is there a damaged relationship between the administration and the community, and how can we start to repair it? That's why, if I were Mrs. Rose, I would propose with going ahead with that meeting, even if you only have 8 parents, because somebody has to step up at some point and say, there's an issue here. How can we start to rebuild this collaboration and this collaborative community for the greater good of all of our students and staff? Also, what is the demographic of the school, and could outside issues be contributing to parental apathy? The school that I recently just came from, very low socioeconomic. Most parents are low to middle class and working, most of them 2 jobs, nights and weekends. So maybe the parents want to be involved, and we just need to make those opportunities at a time where they can get into the school and be a part of the school. How does the administration communicate both internally and externally? Obviously, there's a breakdown in communication, and we need to kind of revamp how often we communicate and the avenues that we are communicating. And how do we collaborate more effectively with all stakeholders? I think putting out staff surveys, community surveys, and receiving input, even getting student surveys. What do they like to see change in their schools? Reflection, ways that I can help as an administrator, collaborate with families and community members. Like I mentioned earlier, sending out surveys to gather data. If we don't know how people are feeling and we don't listen and we're not genuine and transparent, we can't help fix the problem. Planning and organizing quarterly school events to bring families and communities into our school. Like I said, organizing a staff or parents or both planning committee to help promote involvement and a positive school culture, and setting up a school-wide communication system that everybody's aware of and can rely on to go for information. Responding to diverse community needs and interests. Like I said, I think it's very important to be aware of your community. Who are your parents? What are their needs? What are their struggles? That oftentimes impacts our students, and we need to make sure that we are gearing our systems and our communication and our activities to help them. Remember to be genuine and transparent with concerns and collective goals. Value the time of your stakeholders, of your families, and adjust schedules accordingly. Providing feedback to staff about the needs of our families and students. Part of the breakdown may be just a miscommunication where we're reading that parents don't want to be involved or have apathy, but maybe they have struggles in their lives and they're not able to provide volunteer hours or get involved like they'd like to. I also think getting our students out into the community to volunteer and be involved and supporting our local businesses would be helpful. Mobilizing community resources to address and help solve problems in a way that supports the school. Promoting our school activities in the media and getting our information out about our events and reaching out to local businesses. They could put flyers in local restaurants or at the local library. Increasing communication system between school and community, making sure that everybody knows where to go to retrieve information. Inviting community and family members in to participate into school events, like having a job fair or having local businesses or community members sign up to come in and be mystery readers or be involved in growing a garden on the school playground. But finding ways that everybody can come in and find where their strength is and help with our school. Establishing consistent community partnerships and looking to staff and community groups to create excitement about school events. We need to build up our PR. You have to kind of sell yourselves and sell your school to get everybody motivated and excited about what you're doing at your school. So making sure that you are putting things out into the media or at least communicating with all your stakeholders and getting everybody excited about building a family and a community where everybody's excited to come to work, the kids are excited to come to school, and we're all invested in a collective goal. So that is a little bit of my case reflection for Ms. Rose, and I think all of us as building leaders to be able to help cultivate and promote positive school environment.